stuff going on.
Well, so we were in
East Georgia College down in Swineboro.
Okay, the time is 6:31. I'll call this regular scheduled meeting in work session to order. First, we'll go over tonight's regular scheduled meeting and public hearing. Tonight we have Pastor Leon Williams from Next Generation Ministries to give us the invocation. You all received a copy of our announcements. Ceremonial matters, Mayor Oberholzer will be here tonight. We'll have a proclamation for him. And then last time we approved the hanging of the Ten Commandments and Declaration of Independence and other documents in City Hall. They are in. They've been ordered, they're framed, they're in, and they'll be presented to us formally tonight. We then have our minutes. Does anybody have any corrections, changes, or objections to the July 8th minutes? Invited guests, we have the Clean Air Campaign presentation, Little Free Library, Ted and Judy will be here. Councilman Cross, anything you need to add to that?
No, I'm gonna let them present it.
Get Off and Drive, Councilman Manuel, anything you want?
She just has a program that I think is pretty important about not texting and paying attention when you drive. So let her do her
And then we'll have
presentation.
Mr. Ewing here tonight for sound bites of Snellville history. Is this his last one?
It's his last for a while.
We have Ms. McElwain will be here for a stat report, and you have a city manager report for us tonight?
No, I don't.
On tonight's consent agenda, we have one item. It's an agreement with Gwinnett County for use of Briscoe Park for polling location. They use Briscoe Park for county elections, and so that will be one of the polling places for SPLOST. It's not a place for city elections, but for the county, so that's an agreement between us and the county for their use of Briscoe Park.
And we've done that before? Okay, so you just have to do this
Every election. Anybody have any other questions about that? Any objections to it being on the consent agenda? Then we have, under old business, we have our public hearing. We have the first reading on the ordinance to amend our retail package sales. This is what we discussed in the last work session about Nico's coming in compliance with Lawrenceville ordinance. Mr. Collins, can you tell us about that?
The key ingredients, y'all are seeing it for the first time really, and it's a it is Lawrenceville's ordinance. It anticipates a couple of things that were just carried through in the draft. That is that it's only allowed in the downtown overlay district. I'm not sure. See, nobody's really given any instructions on the the restrictions that you want to place on if you want to put any on there. So you've got a wine shop definition. It's retail sale of wine and beer. It's the percentages don't go to food sales, they go to it being a dedicated bottle shop for wine and beer. And it's area restricted in Lawrenceville. So that you can't permit that just anywhere. That carried over. So it may be that you want to take a look at it, see. It's good for first read because it's exactly what y'all asked for. But between now and a month from now, our next meeting, you might want to refine it a little bit.
Does this go in front of anybody other than us? Does it go in front of
It's
our
alcohol,
commission?
so it can go if y'all wanted to refer it to somebody, but not as a matter of obligation.
So at the appropriate time, if we can have a motion to waive the first reading and place it on our August 12th agenda. We then have, under new business, this is a call for the election for our city election for November 5th, 2013. Resolution you all received a copy of. Does anybody have any questions about that resolution?
It's just a standard every election day.
State law, I think, says we have to make the call so many days for it. B is consideration action on the intergovernmental agreement with Gwinnett County for the SPLOST. So you all already know we're going to have a SPLOST vote in 2013. This is, whenever we have a SPLOST vote, we have to have the intergovernmental agreement with Gwinnett County. Gwinnett County is planning on having a celebratory signing August 13th. That's the regularly scheduled GWMA meeting. I'll also receive an invitation to that meeting. It's going to be in Sugar Hill. So all the mayors and county commissioners, I believe, will be there. enough counties have already passed the intergovernmental agreement, so at this point in time, it's got enough to go forward. But this is for us to sign off on our part, regardless if we pass it or not, that will be going forward. The breakdowns are in the intergovernmental agreement. You all should have received a copy of the percentages. What we did is estimate, like we did last time, 80% collection, as you saw in our special call meeting, that was pretty accurate numbers with 80% collection rate. And we started with Parks and Rec. We knew we needed to get close to $2 million to do our next parks project, whether it be phase 2B or whether it be 2C or 2-3 or whatever else. We need about $2 million for each phase. And then there's some equipment, some voting equipment we needed for administrative services.
A couple of electronic voting machines.
And then the public safety, we're asking for the some video cameras. And the transportation, we have not put out the projects yet because there's several projects that we could do with transportation, and we didn't want to limit it. So the remainder does go to transportation. We did agree with the county as a part of this agreement that 65% of all the cities together will allocate their cost money to transportation issues. The county, there's that 20 million.
There will be 25 million of their transportation money set aside, 10% for, and it's competitive. Their SLOST review committee will decide amongst projects that the cities submit of how that 25 million gets spent. 10% of that will go to cities less than 5,000 population. So that's $2.5 million. So there'll be $22.5 million that we'll be able to compete for. And it's a 19% match for local governments in that pool of money. So we will we'll decide what projects we want to submit and make our case there.
And if the SPLOST passes, Charlotte will, Chairwoman Nash will appoint a citizen committee, and they'll decide that 19%, or that 25 million, what projects get picked out for that. So it won't be any of the cities deciding or any of the county officials deciding. Anybody have any questions on the agreement? Lost my place. C, consideration action on resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the contract for repairs on Lower Johnson Lake Dam. Councilman Sabag.
I had asked to have this put on the agenda to have repairs done to the, just to make sure everybody's clear on this. Make sure that the repairs are done to the pipe onto the street, just the pipe onto the street. And that's the street that connects Timberline to Summit Chase. And I understand that there are probably some other concerns that may be brewing or maybe talked about, but that's, my concern is to just to have that portion of it fixed.
Is Mayor Pro Tem Woods, are we expecting him to be here at all tonight?
He's, last I spoke to him, he said he would be, he just wasn't sure what time.
What happens if I recuse myself and we have no Mayor Pro Tem?
Well, it sort of makes the group, in terms of leadership, has to elect a chair. My recommendation is that we probably table this, or in the alternative, we really need this back on the executive session. It is intertwined with the litigation issues about Johnson Dam, so that's the,
Nothing's actually been filed on that though, it's just an anti-litem, right?
Well, the way it's getting discussed internally in litigation with the Summit Chase Homeowners Association. I mean, there is, as y'all know, as you saw last time, there was an offer of settlement that deals with the Homeowners Association. So it's there isn't anything about this issue that I would really recommend putting on a public agenda. That if we're going to discuss it, it should be an executive session. And I mean, those are definitely what the subject matter of that is intertwined in the litigation itself.
That's a litigation with the HOA and the property owners, not with the city.
It's, the way it comes up is intertwined with the litigation involving the contractor.
But the city's not a party to any of that.
Well, the city's a party to a case with specific residents, and so
There's actually been a lawsuit filed.
I believe so, yeah. Harvey's answering the lawsuit today, so.
Have we gotten a copy of that lawsuit? Because all I've seen is an anti-litem notice.
I have not
Okay.
done that, but I know that we notified Germa when the anti-litem came in, and Harvey Gray has been assigned as our attorney to represent us on all of that action.
And that's not something, I'm not directly handling that. That probably was acknowledged by Mr. Gray on our behalf.
Is Harvey gonna be attorney?
I asked him to come, but he's had a conflict. He could not, so.
Do you feel an exec session is in?
Oh, yes, yeah. There are a number of matters on target for the executive session
For tonight?
tonight. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That then brings us to the generator. In our capital improvement budget, we set aside money for a generator. This is approval of purchase of that.
We received 2 bids, and our consulting engineers made a recommendation of a company that has put a lot of thought into into either the relocation or a new generator. It's a matter of public safety. This came up several times during our emergency management COOP discussion. This is something that should have happened a long time ago. And I would definitely recommend awarding the bid and moving forward. And I'll keep everybody updated.
Can you provide a little bit of clarity? Because I couldn't tell from that whether they were gonna put a new generator in or move the old one.
Well,
Or has the decision not been made yet?
they have looked at both, and Melissa, I know you were involved in that whole
It
process.
looks like there's $100 difference between moving it and putting in a new one.
No, that,
From what I,
and I apologize to Mike, I should have clarified, on the bid sheet, where they list the 2 bidders, if you look at the base bid, that is just relocating the old generator from the police department to City Hall. The next one, which is bid alternative number 2, the first bidder just put $23,000, which is the purchase of the new generator, and you would add that to their base bid. The
Okay.
second bidder put their total there of 88. And I don't remember, since I wasn't, the third was an addition by Clark Patterson. I don't remember exactly what that was, but it had to do with rewiring.
yeah, because that's
The
what I was
old
confused at, because it
Yeah.
said number
I don't
2 is
remember.
rewiring for
Mhm.
59.5, whereas the
No,
base
number
bid
2
was-
is purchase of a brand new generator.
He's talking about the last column, this
it
is.
says rewire X generator,
Yeah, bid alternative number
2.
2, okay. Yeah, that's the one I don't quite remember what Clark Patterson did. Number 2, base alternative number 1 is purchasing a new generator for the building, and the base bid is relocating.
And so what is staff asking us for?
So it's basically 88 versus 101,000 total.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. To go with Clark Patterson's recommendation on the award of the bid to DPS,
DPS.
which is the low bidder.
Right, but are you asking us?
We don't know yet. They have to
Okay.
test the generators. We don't know if the generator at the old PD is usable yet. That's part of the bid,
That's-
is for them to go out there and run all the tests.
So if it's usable, then we'll go with the bid of, okay, I got you.
And that was part of the addendum, in addition to the wiring here in this building. It's it's not a cheap process, but I wish that it had been considered when this building was built.
Let me ask council this though, for the amount of money we're talking about, would we rather just approve the purchase of a new generator? Is there,
Well, Melissa and I guess, what's it been? 8, 9 months ago, Melissa, when you and I started talking about this? Because we've talked about this before. As long as the mechanics of the current generator over there are sufficient and not bad, then there's really, in my opinion, there's no reason to go all the way new. But the numbers are too close. I thought the numbers would be a little further apart, quite frankly. So if the numbers are from 88 to 101, for me, it's a threshold, that for me is too close to go old.
Right,
So,
that's what I'm asking, is that?
yeah, I mean, and I would be inclined to go new and then try to salvage or do what we can with that one to recoup some, because it's sitting there, it's just going to waste.
You should be able to say.
How
How's
about
this
eBay?
motion? I mean, how do you want this motion?
Authorize, if council wants to approve it, you can authorize, execution of Clark Patterson to contract with, what is it,
DPS.
for purchase of a new generator, that's what we wanna do. And
Not to exceed 88,000.
the 101 number, if it's the new one.
The, yeah, the number
And
one. yeah.
because we get, in our bid, we asked for two preferences. We asked for
That's correct.
a refurbish versus a new. But in our motion, we can say we'd rather go with the new option and authorize that purchase price.
And the new option, just so we can be clear on this one, is 88,250.
No, 101.
101, the sum of
No.
88,250.
Yeah, that's, the 88 versus the 101 is the difference between the two bidders.
Okay.
Right.
It's 59 versus 88 on the old generator versus the new generator.
Yeah, so it's $88,000 number.
Okay.
And column two,
Not to exceed 88,000.
250.
Yeah, I mean, for the numbers being that close, from 59 to 88, it's, if it clears the 50% threshold, it's my opinion that we move to new.
Because how long would the old one last if we refurbished it, do we know?
So we can't, we couldn't say, it would be
Yeah.
a guess. I mean, we know that it's in good shape and it was not utilized hardly at all over there in, at the old PD.
The generator's sitting dormant though. If it were exercised and you, even though it wasn't being used, if it were in an exercise program and it came on once a week and it did those kind of things, I'd have no hesitation to,
Yeah.
as long as the hours were sufficient, because they're based on hours. So, but in this case, knowing that it hasn't been, and it hadn't been anything done, I'd be inclined not to put us in a position where we would have to spend money on a roll.
And there was not a bidder who was interested in putting that kind of effort into, checking out the generator that was sitting out there until there was.
Do the new ones have any kind of a warranty we're talking about, or is it until you fire it, or it explodes, whichever it is?
Excuse me?
Is there any kind of warranty of any significance on these?
Oh, on the old one?
No, on the new one.
Oh, on the new one, definitely, but, nothing left on the old one.
I figured
It's
that.
typically a year.
Yeah.
So at the appropriate time, if it's the will of council, if we could have a motion to award the bid to DPS Infrastructure Monitoring Systems, Inc., DBA Data Power Source, for the purchase of a new generator not to exceed the purchase price of $88,250.
Gee whiz. That's a lot.
It's in the letter,
I got it.
their official name. And then maybe if we can put back on our August 24th work session, if staff can look into what can be done with the old generator, if we can have a report during that work session.
August 26th.
Yeah, there's a market out there for that piece of equipment, for sure.
Okay, and that brings us down to E, F, G, and H. I'm gonna withdraw all my nominations tonight. I'll put those back on. It's my fault, I was lax in getting the, application, so I will get those to you all in plenty of time and put it on the next one. The Art Commission had asked me, maybe not put artists on the commission, but some business people, because there's already a lot of artists on there, but they need some people with some business sense. So I have asked 3 people in the business community, and they're getting those applications together for me.
Melissa,
which
go ahead.
I'm sorry, which ones were you taking off?
I'm taking off all of them, I'm just gonna take off all of them.
So we're not
I'm not gonna do
going
any nominations tonight.
to do this one tonight.
We're not gonna do Ms. Forbes,
No,
since she's on there?
no. Because I talked to her about the Art Commission as well, and she's looking at both of them to just see
Okay.
what she wants to do.
Melissa, as far as the generator, I would treat it just as we do a salvage bid, and look at an
Surplus.
eBay type situation there,
Yeah.
because it's, would be any different.
Craigslist, yeah, most people come see it.
Yeah, I like to shoot Craig sometimes.
That then brings us to our work session agenda. Do we have any correspondence to review? Members report?
I do have 3 matters for executive session.
Discussion items, economic development update.
Mayor, council, the first thing I have to do is my computer was so helpful that it changed the URA meeting, or left it rather, to the July 18th date. So if you would just mark that the next URA meeting is actually August 15th instead of the July 18th, because that's, I would have to attend that. A brief update, picking goal 2 out of the strategic action agenda, talks about small business development. This spring, and beginning summer, as we finished our latest update to the toolbox, we added a forum, and I just wanted to share that with you and maybe encourage you a little bit to sign up for it if that would be possible. I'll turn to the back of the page that I gave you. It just shows the toolbox landing page. As you line on it, that big thing in the middle that says forum is the button. It will take you to that bottom screenshot that you see there where you can register. And once you register, it'll take you to the front screenshot that I've got there, which is what you'll see. The purpose of the forum is for business owners to have an opportunity to just post a question at any time of day or night, and then at some time, other business owners as well as staff from the SEC will look at those questions and create a conversation about those answers, so that there is an opportunity for kind of an ad hoc way for business owners to get answers when they can't do it at a time that we can all be there to do that. So that's the forum, and it is now functional on the toolbox.
Any questions for Eric? Thank you. LCI update.
Basically, the bids are out. There is a small addendum that we're working on in front of the Tisma property, where we may go to 28 feet for a driveway. So we've had, I'd say, a lot of interest. We've given out 8 CDs of the full set of plans, sold, excuse me. And so hopefully they all come to the bidding table.
Anybody have questions about the LCI? Have plenty of time, so during the work session, the mayor and city council of Snellville, Georgia, Mayor Council announced that certain matters should be discussed in a closed session of the meeting. With regards to the following, to discuss all of them.
Mine are all litigation matters.
To discuss pending and or potential litigation, settlement claims, administrative proceedings, or other judicial actions which is exempt from the Open Meetings Act pursuant to OCGA section 50-14-2, subsection 1. Will say or no?
No real estate.
What's that?
On a motion of council member Rouse, second by Councilman Sabag, meeting is closed, following members of the mayor present voting. Mayor Couch, yes. Councilman Emmanuel.
Yes.